Every time this country gives me hope it actually has morals, it soon follows up by shatting all over the 3 remaining hairs on my head. In July last year, a Saudi Arabia-backed consortium, spearheaded by a woman with the scariest eyes I think I've ever seen, made a bid to take over the eternal laughingstock that is Newcastle United Football Club. The bid was met with several layers of concern for everyone outside of Newcastle United's fan base, and probably a few within it too. For football fans, the thought of having yet another club who've turned Football Manager on cheat mode into a reality means that the chances of having more clubs like Leicester climb their way up properly on merit becomes more of an impossibility. And really, for most football fans now, the hope of their club making it just doesn't seem to exist within the realm of footballing ability and clever management at dugout and boardroom level anymore, but with the lucky dip of one of the world's super rich picking them to be the next club who earns the privilege.
And we're no longer a sleeping giant. This giant has just woken up, and Newcastle United are back.
You were never a giant when you were awake, mate. Your only decent team in decades was in the 90s, when English football was shit and only one team won one trophy on the continent, by the way. And your best team in decades couldn't even win anything in that shitty decade. Jesus Christ. And you're not waking up, by the way. This isn't some like big cultural revolution happening in Newcastle here, where you've spent a few years laying the groundwork for something big and are now reaping the benefits. You've just been pumped with hundreds of millions of pounds of someone else's money. You're the difference between a bloke who's built a successful business from the ground up over several decades and has become a multi-millionaire as a result, to Dave at work winning the lottery. Anyway, for others who are concerned about the political side of things, there are precious few things in this world that unites the polarized and divided tribes of Western society, and one of them is the universal agreement that the nation of Saudi Arabia is a backward shithole, responsible for multiple human rights violations, including having one of the most casual uses of the death penalty you can find on this planet. Women are second-class citizens with very few rights. Homosexuality is illegal and punishable by death. Apostasy is punishable by death. There's also the state-sanctioned assassination of activist journalist Jamal Khashoggi, and the people of Saudi Arabia in general have very few freedoms, including having very little freedom of speech.
Can relate.
So naturally the story drew attention from pressure groups who it didn't even have anything to do with football. People just did not want that government and that state having a presence in English football. And I have to say, I agree completely with that. So it was a pleasant surprise that the Premier League rejected this bid on the grounds of Saudi Arabia's abysmal human rights record and the fact that this consortium is obviously backed by the Saudi government and Saudi royal family. Fast forward to today, and in case you've been living under a rock for the last week or so, or too busy to have been paying attention to the news, and for that I don't blame you, by the way, that failed bid last year has now been approved.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
But why, you may ask? And you'd be right to ask. I mean, very little has changed with this bid. It's still a Saudi-backed consortium, spearheaded by Cruella de Vil. There's been no shortage of reports highlighting the Saudi royal family's wealth, signalling where the money Newcastle will now have invested into them is obviously coming from. So what's the reason for the bid being accepted now?
The Premier League has now received what they say legally binding assurances that the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia will not control Newcastle United Football Club, but the consortium will, of course, which of 80% of that is a public investment fund of Saudi Arabia.
I mean, is anyone really surprised at this point? The wealthiest royal family on earth wants to pump their obscene levels of wealth into English football because it obviously doesn't have enough money in it already. But because you've got a public backlash over the fact it's Saudi Arabia, you feel forced to back down, then a year later agree to a consortium, this time as long as they pinky promise the money isn't coming from the Saudi state. Look, we all know that the Premier League are not that stupid. They know damn well where this money is coming from. We know where that money is coming from, and we know that they want that family's money coming into English football because it trickles up to them. But anyway, whinging about this isn't going to change anything. It's happened. Newcastle United Football Club are now, by some distance, the wealthiest football club on earth. The wealth of the Saudi royal family, the consortium, utterly dwarfs the wealth of the Man City and PSG owners. I don't hold any kind of grudge against the Newcastle fans, despite the fact I've been quite open about the fact I have a lot of mates from Sunderland and much prefer the people of Sunderland to those of Newcastle, having lived in both cities, by the way. But I don't hate Newcastle fans, nor am I complaining about this takeover because it's Newcastle. I don't really care which club that state wants to purchase. I care about the fact that there's yet another football club playing the game on cheat mode, and that this time the money coming into our game is coming from one of the most oppressive and vile regimes outside of Manchester. So on a football level, what does this takeover mean for Liverpool? Well, it doesn't concern me now. I mean, it took Man City a few years to recruit and build a team capable of challenging for trophies, and those same laws of team building still apply regardless of money. Having more money just shortens the time and increases the likelihood of a project succeeding, but it still takes time to build a team, regardless of how much money you spend on it. So given the ages of most of Liverpool's current first team, and the fact that Klopp has been quite coy about whether or not he'll continue managing Liverpool past his contract's expiration in 2024, this takeover isn't a problem for this current Liverpool team. It's a problem for the next Liverpool team, and maybe the next Liverpool manager. 3 years from now, at least, Newcastle United are almost certainly going to be a new rival for Liverpool Football Club to worry about. And although most of my Sunderland mates are not going to want to hear this,
Say it!
I've always regarded Newcastle as a club with potential, despite the taking the piss out of them earlier. They're not a big club, they never have been, but they have got the potential to be one if they're ran correctly, and now it looks like they might be. The potential is going to be fulfilled now. But Newcastle are a lot different from the Man Cities and Chelseas of this world. Their potential isn't the same as PSG's, but it's up there in scale. North East football fans are known for being some of the loudest and most passionate fans in the country, despite having to put up with some of the most abysmal football and unprofessional and uncaring players and managers any fans in this country have had to endure. Now look, I lived in the North East. I've been to Tyne-Wear derbies. I've seen Sunderland as a city partying tonight over a 3-0 league win over Newcastle. We've all seen Newcastle fans as well still pack out St James's Park with reasonable average attendances despite being down a league. If you give that region a winning team backed by billions that brings trophies to the North East, I'm telling you, it's a different problem than Man City or Chelsea. That club will be backed by the bulk of the North East of England. I mean, a lot of people up there, you know, in the smaller towns and cities that aren't truly aligned with Newcastle or Sunderland, a lot of people from those towns, they support Man United, they support Liverpool because no trophies get brought to the North East, so the next best thing is seeing the best teams from their country bring back trophies. So they'll back the successful sides, and you've got a lot of Liverpool and Man United fans up there. That's going to change. They're all going to swarm around Newcastle now. That club is just going to get elevated up because of the people of the North East will just swarm around that club now. And as well, Geordies are already passionate and loud with his shit team, so if you give Newcastle a winning team, Newcastle will have atmospheres that rival the very best. They're a club with an already impressive stadium located in the city centre. It can be seen all across the city as it's on top of like a hill, and it is begging to be expanded and could go well over 70,000, which will be filled every single week, you understand. That kind of atmosphere in that kind of stadium is not something Man City and Chelsea can compete with despite being able to offer the players the same wages. PSG being located in Paris is obviously an attractive proposition for their players, as players who join PSG will get to live in Paris with all of the luxurious suburbs and restaurants and so on, while living in Newcastle obviously doesn't compare to that at all. But playing in a gorgeous 70,000 or more stadium full of loud and extremely passionate Geordies every week is still going to be an attractive selling point. Newcastle will have to be taken seriously when this inevitable investment starts to pay off. There is no getting away from it, and Liverpool's board have really got to consider changing their approach and their vision for where they are taking this club now, because this trend of the super rich buying English clubs is starting to look like it will continue, and there are countless clubs in England who have similar potential to Newcastle. I mean, take your pick: Aston Villa, West Ham, Leeds United, Everton, even Nottingham Forest, Derby, Wolves and Sunderland to a degree. These are clubs who can be bought relatively cheaply and yet have the marketability of some history of winning big trophies and also have a large and passionate fan base to go with it. They're clubs with potential, basically. They're as attractive to buy as Newcastle, and I'm not a betting man, but at this point English football's reaching the point where I just don't think Newcastle will be the last English club who gets this kind of investment.
Well, shit.
The Premier League will soon be like the NFL, where you can be one of the wealthiest clubs on earth and have one of the best teams in the world, but still finish 8th or 9th in your league. If Liverpool wants to maintain its status as one of England's leading clubs in this kind of climate, we, the fans, need to ask ourselves a serious question. Do we trust FSG to be able to build us to the heights needed, or do we give in and demand that this is the way the wind's blowing now, we can't escape it, and that FSG should just sell up and hand the reins over to a super rich owner we can call our own?
How about new?
Honestly, it's hard to argue against it, but Liverpool, for me, being one of the world's most supported and biggest clubs, are uniquely positioned, along with the likes of United, Barca, Real Madrid and Bayern Munich, to be able to resist and succeed with clever management at dugout and boardroom level. There's also the argument that we're probably too expensive to be bought. I mean, we're worth over $1 billion, so we probably have to rely on doing it properly. And in that case, FSG need to make changes now. They need to come to terms with the fact that English football is not so slowly getting populated with super rich clubs who can outspend spend us as we are now. They need to be more transparent with us with regards to their plans for our club and how far they want to take it, because none of us know how far they intend to build us up. And now with Newcastle becoming the latest billionaire's plaything, it makes it a pressing issue. They might think they're operating at a sensible pace and have a reasonable model plan for how they grow the club, but it's taking too fucking long.
Get on with it. Yes, get on with it.
They've been here now for over a decade, and it's taken a decade of their ownership to build one stand, a training ground, and for Liverpool to have a team capable of winning titles and Champions Leagues. Man City did most of that in a fraction of the time. Newcastle will do most of that in a fraction of the time. And considering that Man City, Man United and Chelsea already have spending capabilities far beyond our own, and now Newcastle too, we're now currently outside the top four when it comes to spending power and wage budgets. This needs to change. It has to change. FSG need to realise that this takeover puts them firmly in the spotlight, because we need to know, do they plan to make full use of Liverpool's potential and make us the financial powerhouse it deserves to be, on a par with the other clubs who have fan bases and histories like ours? Every time we play Man United, Sky Sports reveal that our viewing figures are the largest in world sport for a domestic league fixture. We have fans in every corner of the globe. We have a fan base and a history on par with Man United's, Real Madrid's and Barcelona's, yet our finances never seem to be anywhere near theirs.
I have no idea what I'm doing. I have no idea what I'm doing, but
it's about time you started fulfilling the financial potential of this football club, because it's the only way we're going to survive as a top club and compete in a league that has multiple billionaire owners. The golden rule of capitalism is that where there is demand, there is profit, and where there is a lot of demand, there is a lot of profit, and you were brought in to bridge that gap and make our profits match our demand. So here's what I believe we need to pressure FSG into doing. Starting with their transparency, we have no idea what your overall plans are for this club because of a 10-year-old principle that is now a dead issue. Liverpool fans don't care about the mistakes Hicks and Gillette made because it's over a decade in the past now. We don't want you to promise the earth if you can't deliver, of course we don't, but staying completely silent and leaving fans asking questions as to what your plans are is now becoming a problem in and of itself. Just tell us what the end goal is. What are your ambitions for this football club?
Where are you taking me?
Without Newcastle's newfound wealth, we're currently 4th in the pecking order of what we can spend and how much we can pay our players. Despite having one of the top 2 or 3 largest fan bases in world football, it has to change. We need the resources our colossal global fan base can provide, and the reason FSG need to be more transparent is because if FSG are only able to take us so far, then they need to be replaced in favour of someone who can take us the full distance. Mo Salah's current contract negotiations is a huge opportunity for this football club that goes far beyond the player himself. Liverpool have gotten away with not paying its best players the going rate for the world's best players for too long. Now they've been backed into a corner of having to pay it or risk the wrath of the Liverpool fans by losing arguably the world's most in-form attacking talent. Now the reason it's a good thing in my opinion is because paying our current players way above the wage budget is going to seriously hit FSG when it comes to profits. And with ticket prices still being too hot to mess with, especially after COVID and the lockdowns taking their jibs.
they took our jib! They took our jib!
You can't even think about raising the prices ordinary fans have to pay, even though it's peanuts anyway. We know the mindset of businessmen. It's their first immediate thought to increase profits on everything, but they can't do that after COVID. They'll be chased out and they know it. So this means they'll have to get to work on procuring more lucrative sponsorships and look to build the club's facilities up more, like a damn stadium, which I'll come on to in a bit. This is what FSG were brought in to do though, to build the financial structure of the club up so we could make enough profits to buy premium players at the going rate and pay them the going rate for wages of this caliber. Forcing them to pay these wages now before the profits are at that level, and with them unable to make up the difference through raising the prices on everything ordinary fans have to pay, might just force their hand to do their fucking job faster. Another thing I think we all deserve answers from is that 2 years into securing a revolutionary Nike deal in which Nike was supposedly going to use its star American names to push the LFC brand in America to see if we could be the first English club to crack the American market, which is what won them their legal case over New Balance, by the way. I'll leave a link to that report below. It resulted in us having a quiet transfer window due to the crickets chirping on where all of LFC's money is. quick Google search can reveal what these stars have done to promote our club in Yankeeland. Serena Williams? Nope. Drake? Oh look, he's holding a shirt belonging to Daniel Sturridge when he played for the club. Seems a bit odd he did his 5 minutes of work years prior to the deal being signed, but whatever. Lebron James? Ah yes, a long-term fan who was doing it for free long before the Nike deal was signed, but I don't see much promotion beyond walking around in a shirt once in a while. We've just had a transfer window where we didn't have enough money to sign new players. The Nike deal was supposed to be $30 million a year in principle, plus a cut of the profits from Nike's promotion of Liverpool FC products in America that could boost it to as high as £100 million a year. So where is the fucking promotion, Nike? You liar! We struck that deal when the iron was hot, in the middle of winning the Champions League and the Premier League. Adidas have historically been our brand of choice, but after fobbing us off during Rafa's tenure because we didn't qualify for the Champions League that one time, and the fact that they're paying Has-Been FC, aka Man United, 60 million quid a year, and also with Nike obviously making an approach for us, we had carte blanche to demand anything we wanted from Adidas. Anything. Like, literally, give us a blank check, put whatever we wanted on it, hand it back and say,
you are my bitch. That's what. My own personal bitch.
Instead, we did a deal with Nike that they haven't honoured and has left us unable to afford new players. What the fuck? There are 4 financial superpowers in England now that don't include Liverpool. 4. If we want to be a part of that clique of English football who can challenge for the Premier League and the Champions League every season, we need to be able to buy the best players. We need the best sponsorships. We signed a sponsorship with Nike that we all thought would help do this. Nike promised us promotion through their star American names and a cut of the subsequent sales. They have not done this. We won't survive in the transfer market against Abramovich, Sheikh Mansour, the Saudi royal family and Manchester United's resources, when the latter get their act together of course, if our sponsors don't hold up their end of the deal.
Where's my money? You gonna give me my money? Where's my money, man?
However, at the time of writing, a story has just dropped and it appears FSG are renegotiating a sponsorship with Standard Chartered and are expected to increase the £40 million a season deal by 10 million extra on top of that, which will make it, I think, the most lucrative sponsorship in English football. So that's good news at least. Finally, the last thing we need FSG to stop pissing around on is the stadium. Obviously, a few of you have been here from the start, but most of you watching are probably here because of my Anfield Phase 3 and 4 video, so you know how and why I think Liverpool should expand Anfield further. What I will emphasise now, though, is the need for it to be done. Liverpool projecting themselves as the club they have the potential to be by having a giant stadium, which compares to the other meccas of European football, such as the Nou Camp, the Santiago Bernabeu and the San Siro, was more of a balance between pride and the need to stay competitive. Now it's firmly in the camp of needing to stay competitive.
You don't say.
I don't care what anyone says to the contrary. Having 75,000 or more passionate paying fans coming through the turnstiles every week, both regular and corporate, is better than having 60,000 with less corporate. We're not competing with West Ham, we're not competing with Tottenham for fuck's sake, we're competing with Man United and billionaire owners. Every seat counts now. We need to know, we need FSG to tell us whether this Anfield Road expansion they've just botched the building costs on is going to be the last expansion they are willing to do with Anfield or not. I am sick and tired of them being so quiet over this. You need to tell us if Anfield can have all 4 stands built up or not.
Tell me!
Because if it can't, the Liverpool fans need to have that discussion amongst ourselves about what we want to happen if our beloved home might end up acting as an anchor in the near future when so many more clubs have more spending power than us and so many paying Liverpool fans, both rich and regular, are being prevented from going to the game. So my message to FSG is simple. The time of pretending you're still operating in the hangover of Hicks and Gillette is over. What are your plans for this football club? How far are you willing to build us? How far can you build us? And considering the demand to watch our team around the world seems to be up there with Man United, Barcelona and Real Madrid, are you going to turn that demand into the kind of profits those clubs enjoy or not? Because now that we have multiple billionaire owners to worry about, if you can't, then
Get the fuck out!
Now look, I know that turned into a bit of a rant, and one thing I have to say is this: I hold no grudge against Newcastle fans. I know if any of them see this, they'll love that it's got a Liverpool fans' knickers in a twist. Despite my preference to their neighbours on Wearside, I also feel a sense of pity for any club that's had to endure 14 years of Mike Ashley. No one deserves that. No one deserves the Glazers either, though you can still toast who that's happening to. but I don't like seeing these fucking heartless leeches in English football. And to some extent, if they do win a trophy, and I say it to all those Newcastle fans dancing in the streets, you've still got competition no matter how fucking rich you are. There will be a small part of me that'll be happy for them, because we all know how long they've been waiting. We all know how much they've had to suffer under Mike Ashley. I'm not against happiness. I'd prefer to see Sunderland win a trophy, because I want to see my mates up there enjoy what I've been lucky enough to enjoy occasionally. But despite my mates in Sunderland, I don't share their hatred of Newcastle. I don't begrudge them.
That's nice.
I just prefer to see Sunderland be in this position rather than them, but it's just happened to be them. But what worries me as a Liverpool fan is, despite having the history, the global popularity that we've earned by doing it the right way, and despite having a winning team and special manager now, 5 years from now, it might not mean much when so many clubs simply have far wealthier owners or far better financial structures than us, and can provide far better than our needlessly limited financial structure is currently providing us. It makes everything that FSG have built so far feel more like a plaster. They're averaging one new stand being built a decade to renovate our beloved stadium, with no word at all on whether we'll go beyond 2 new stands, by the way. They've hired Klopp, who could be gone within a couple of years. They've hired the negotiating wizard that is Michael Edwards, who is going next year. And with a team still in their prime, and it can't be denied, but creeping towards the end of their prime within the next couple of years, which means we should be laying the groundwork for the next rebuild. But we've just had a transfer window where we didn't have enough money to buy more than one £30 million player. I mean, how is that supposed to compete with 3 clubs run by billionaires and Manchester United, whose resources are the strongest on earth? But look, if I've made you feel down by watching this video, don't be. We're still one of the best teams in Europe. We've still got arguably the best manager in Europe, and we've still got one of the most famous atmospheres in Europe, and the best who most players want to play in front of. We've also got a lot of talented youngsters coming through, and one of our greatest footballing legends has had a glittering start to his managerial career up there in Scotland, who everyone and their dog knows is itching to come back here and do what he couldn't do as a player and win titles for Liverpool. Liverpool are in a healthy position, but Newcastle's takeover has changed the circumstances. The spotlight is now firmly on FSG. They have to build this club to its fullest potential and genuinely rival Man United's, Barcelona's and Real Madrid's financial structures if we're going to have any hope of surviving and prospering in a league that slowly looks like it's turning into a billionaire's playground. Liverpool, as it is right now, are only competing with the Man Cities of this world because of the genius of 2 men. The managerial genius of Klopp and the negotiating genius of Michael Edwards. Without them, even with a good manager, we're going to struggle against multiple Man Cities, not to mention if and when Man United get their act together too. They're only where they are because they've spent badly in the past and they've hired the wrong man to steer the ship when they've started buying well.
I have no idea what I'm doing.
But they've still got way more money than we do, and it's only a matter of time before they hire the right man and spend wisely. And when that happens, when Newcastle have built a team, if Chelsea and City are still going strong too, we need to be ready for them all and prove Liverpool Football Club are still a club who can win this league. Anyway, rant over. As always, I'd love to know your thoughts below. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm a new channel at this point, so any and all interactions are very much appreciated. If you're already subscribed, thanks again for your support. If you're wondering where I've been, I've moved house in the days right after the City game, which was draining and stressful beyond belief, especially after celebrating the news that I'm going to be an uncle as well. So I've only really had the last couple of days to get back to work on my channel. But as the games are coming thick and fast again now, I'll be uploading more frequently again. So keep your eye out as the days go by. But for now, take care lads and lasses and enjoy the rest of your week. Ta-ra.